Chosen one, I need you to stop everything and listen to me right now. Put down your phone. Close the other tabs. Tell anyone around you that you need the next hour completely uninterrupted. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to explain something that's been terrifying you. Something that's been happening to your body that you can't control. Something that no doctor, no dermatologist, no expensive treatment, no miracle product has been able to fix. Your hair is falling out. And I'm not talking about the normal shedding that everyone experiences. I'm not talking about a few strands here and there that you barely notice. I'm talking about real significant, undeniable hair loss. The kind that makes you panic every time you run your fingers through your hair and feel how thin it's gotten. The kind that leaves clumps in the shower drain that you stare at in horror. The kind that shows up on your pillow every morning, reminding you that something is very, very wrong. The kind that's visible in photos now, in mirrors, in the way your scalp is starting to show through in places it never did before. And it's not just happening, it's accelerating. You've noticed it, haven't you? It started maybe a few months ago, subtle at first. You thought maybe it was stress. Maybe it was the weather changing. Maybe it was just one of those things that would pass. But it didn't pass. It got worse. And now you're at the point where you're actively scared, where you're researching frantically online at 2 a.m., where you're buying product after product, hoping this will be the one that works, where you're changing your hairstyle to hide the thinning, where you're avoiding certain lighting because you don't want people to notice. And the worst part, you feel completely helpless because you've done everything you're supposed to do. You've gone to the doctor. They ran tests. They told you your thyroid is fine. Your hormones are normal. There's no medical explanation. They prescribed minoxidil or finasteride or some other medication that either didn't work or had side effects you couldn't tolerate. You've bought the expensive shampoos, the ones with all the promises on the bottle, the ones that cost $40, $50, $60 because you were desperate enough to try anything. You've taken the vitamins, biotin, collagen, iron, zinc, every supplement the internet said might help. You've changed your diet. You've reduced stress, or at least you've tried to. You've done scalp massages. You've tried essential oils. You've watched 100 YouTube videos about hair growth, and nothing has worked. In fact, while you've been trying all these things, your hair has continued falling, maybe even faster than before. And now you're starting to lose hope. You're starting to think maybe this is just your genetics. Maybe this is just your fate. Maybe you're destined to lose your hair and there's nothing you can do about it. You're starting to grieve, grieving the way your hair used to look, grieving your confidence, grieving a part of your identity that's literally disappearing from your body. But I'm here to tell you something that's going to change everything. This isn't medical. This is spiritual. Your hair falling out isn't a random biological malfunction. It's not bad genetics. It's not an unavoidable part of aging. It's a warning from God. And this video didn't randomly appear in your feed today. Out of millions of videos, out of billions of people on this planet, this specific message found its way to you at this exact moment for one divine reason. God is trying to get your attention. He's been trying to speak to you through other means, through your intuition, through your dreams, through that persistent feeling that something in your life isn't right. But you've been too busy, too distracted, too overwhelmed to hear him. So now he's using your body. Specifically, he's using your hair. Because your hair falling is not the problem. It's the alarm. It's God saying, wake up, pay attention. Something in your spiritual life is contaminated. And if you don't address it now, the consequences are going to spread far beyond your hair. Now, I know some of you are already feeling resistance. The enemy is already whispering in your ear. This is ridiculous. Hair loss is medical, not spiritual. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. This is just some pseudoscience nonsense. And that right there is exactly how you know this message is real. Because if this wasn't true, if this wasn't powerful, if this wasn't about to unlock something massive in your life, the enemy wouldn't be fighting so hard to get you to dismiss it. So here's what I need you to do right now. Make a decision. Are you going to listen to the voice of doubt? Or are you going to give God 1 hour to speak to you through this message? Are you going to stay stuck in the same cycle of trying treatments that don't work? Or are you going to be open to the possibility that the root cause is deeper than you realized? Because I promise you, by the end of this message, you're going to understand exactly what's happening to your hair, exactly why it's happening, and exactly what you need to do to fix it. Not just superficially, not just temporarily, but at the root, spiritually, permanently. So stay with me. Every word matters. Every section has a purpose. This is your divine appointment. This is God's warning. And it's also God's solution. Chosen one, before I tell you what's causing this and how to fix it, I need to do something first. I need to validate what you've been experiencing. Because I know you've been feeling crazy. Like maybe you're overreacting. Like maybe it's not as bad as you think it is. Maybe people have even told you that. It's not that noticeable. You're being too hard on yourself. Everyone loses hair, but they don't see what you see. They don't see the amount of hair in your brush every time you use it. They don't see the way your part has widened. They don't see the handfuls that come out in the shower. They don't see your scalp showing through in ways it never did before. They don't see it, but you do, and God does. So let me describe your reality back to you. And as I do, if this is you, if this is your exact experience, I want you to type "this is me" in the comments. Because when you see how many other people are experiencing the exact same thing, you're to realize this isn't random. This is a collective spiritual attack. And God is calling his chosen ones to purify. Here's what your life has looked like lately. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you see when you lift your head from the pillow is hair. Not just a strand or two. Enough that it catches your attention. Enough that you feel that familiar sinking feeling in your stomach. You go to the bathroom and you try not to look too closely in the mirror. Because if you do, you'll start examining your hairline, your crown, your part. And you'll see what you don't want to see. That it's thinner than yesterday. That it's thinner than last month. That it's thinner than it was a year ago. You get in the shower, and this is where the real terror happens. Because when you wash your hair, when you run your fingers through it with shampoo, you feel it. Strands wrapping around your fingers. Clumps coming loose. And when you look down at your hands, they're covered. You try to tell yourself it's normal. Everyone loses hair when they wash it. But deep down, you know this isn't normal. This is excessive. And then you look at the drain, and your heart breaks a little bit more. Because there's so much hair there that you have to pick it up and throw it away before it clogs the drain. And as you're holding that wet clump of your own hair in your hand, you feel a wave of emotions. Fear, sadness, anger, helplessness. You get out of the shower and you try to style your hair, but it doesn't style the way it used to. It's thinner, so it doesn't hold volume. It's more fragile, so it breaks more easily. There are patches where it's noticeably thinner and you have to work around them, covering them up with the hair that's left. You tried different parts. You tried different styles. You spend more time on your hair than you ever used to, not because you're being vain, but because you're trying to hide what's happening. Throughout the day, you're hyper-aware of your hair. You run your fingers through it absent-mindedly. And every time you do, you pull out strands. You see them on your shoulders, on your clothes, on your keyboard at work. You avoid certain lighting. You avoid sitting directly under bright lights because you know they make your scalp more visible. You're self-conscious in conversations. You wonder if the person you're talking to can see it. You wonder if they're noticing. You wonder if they're judging. You find yourself constantly touching your hair, checking it, trying to fluff it up to create the illusion of more volume than there actually is. And then night comes again. You get ready for bed, and you see more hair on your bathroom counter, on the floor, on your clothes. You lie down on your pillow, and you dread the morning because, when you wake up, there will be more hair on that pillow, and the cycle will continue. This has been your reality, day after day, week after week, month after month. And it's exhausting, isn't it? It's not just the physical loss of hair. It's the emotional and mental toll. It's the constant worry, the constant monitoring, the constant disappointment every time you try something new and it doesn't work. It's the loss of confidence, the way you feel less attractive, less vibrant, less like yourself. It's the fear of the future. What will I look like in 6 months? In a year? Will I lose all of it? It's the grief. Grieving something that's still attached to your body but slowly dying. It's the isolation. Because who can you talk to about this? Who will understand? Most people will just say, it's not that bad, or just wear a hat, or give you some other dismissive response that shows they don't get how much this is affecting you. So you suffer in silence. You smile and pretend everything is fine, while internally you're falling apart every time you see another strand fall. I see you. God sees you. And this message is for you. Now here's what I need you to understand. Everything I just described, all of that pain, all of that fear, all of that frustration is valid. Your feelings are real. Your experience is real. This is happening to you, and it's not your imagination. But here's what else is real. The cause is not what you think it is. You've been treating this like a medical problem. And that's understandable, because that's what the world tells you to do. Go to the doctor, get a diagnosis, take medication, use products. But you've done all of that, and you're still losing hair, because the doctors are treating the symptom. But they can't treat the spiritual root cause. They can't see what's happening in the unseen realm. They can't detect spiritual contamination on a blood test. They can't prescribe medication for a soul that's carrying impurities. But God can see it, and He's been trying to show you. Your hair falling isn't a biological malfunction that happened randomly. It's a physical manifestation of a spiritual issue that needs to be addressed. And once you understand what that spiritual issue is, once you cleanse it, once you purify it, your body will respond. Not because the purification magically regrows hair, but because when the spiritual root cause is removed, your body can finally heal the way it was designed to. Your hair falling is God's way of saying, I need you to pay attention to something that's contaminating your spirit. Fix it before it gets worse. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this message. Now, chosen one, before I reveal the specific impurities that are causing your hair to fall, I need to explain something that's going to completely shift your perspective. Hair is not just a cosmetic feature. It's a spiritual antenna. I know that might sound strange if you've never thought about your body in spiritual terms. But hear me out, because once you understand the spiritual significance of hair, once you see what role it plays in your connection to the divine, everything about your hair loss is going to make sense. Biblical significance of hair. Let's start with what the Bible teaches about hair, because Scripture isn't silent on this. In fact, hair shows up repeatedly in significant spiritual moments. Remember Samson? Samson was a judge of Israel, a man of incredible strength. But his strength wasn't from muscle mass or training. It was supernatural. It was a gift from God, and that gift was connected to his hair. God gave Samson's mother specific instructions before he was born. He was to be a Nazirite, set apart for God's service. And part of that vow meant his hair was never to be cut. Samson's long hair wasn't just a physical trait. It was a symbol of his covenant with God. As long as his hair remained uncut, As long as that covenant remained intact, he had supernatural strength. He could kill a lion with his bare hands. He could defeat armies single-handedly. But when Delilah cut his hair, when that covenant symbol was removed, his strength left him immediately. The hair itself wasn't magical, but it represented something deeper. His connection to God's power. When that connection was severed, the power left. Now apply that to your situation. Your hair represents your connection to divine strength, vitality, and life force. When that connection is strong, when you're in right spiritual alignment, your hair thrives. But when that connection is blocked, when spiritual contamination interferes with that flow of divine energy, your hair is one of the first things to suffer. Your hair falling is like Samson's hair being cut, not by an enemy with scissors, but by spiritual impurities that are severing your connection to God's life-giving energy. Let me give you another biblical example. In 1 Corinthians 11, Paul talks about hair as a symbol of glory and authority. He says that a woman's long hair is her glory, not because long hair is inherently more valuable, but because hair represents covering, protection, and divine order. In ancient times, hair was a sign of health, vitality, and blessing. When someone's hair was healthy and full, it indicated they were under God's favor. But when hair fell out, when it thinned, when it lost its vitality, it was often seen as a sign that something was spiritually wrong. Hair was, and still is, a visible indicator of invisible spiritual realities. Hair as a spiritual conductor. Now let's talk about what hair does spiritually. Your hair grows from the crown of your head, the highest point of your body. In many spiritual traditions, the crown is seen as the connection point between the human and the divine. It's where heaven meets earth. It's where spiritual energy enters your body. Your hair acts as an antenna, a conductor, a receiver of spiritual frequency. When you're in alignment with God, when your spirit is pure, when you're living according to divine purpose, your crown chakra, as some traditions call it, or your spiritual crown is open and receptive. Energy flows, life flows, vitality flows, and your hair, being the physical extension of that crown, receives that flow and thrives. But when there's spiritual contamination, when you're consuming things that lower your frequency, when you're connected to people who drain your energy, when you're holding on to emotions that poison your spirit, that flow is blocked. The spiritual energy can't move through the way it's supposed to. And your hair, being at the receiving end of that flow, starts to die. Not because your hair itself is cursed, but because it's not receiving what it needs to live. Think of it like a plant. A plant needs water, sunlight, and nutrients to grow. If you cut off any of those sources, the plant starts to wither. The leaves turn brown. Eventually they fall off. Your hair is the same. It needs spiritual nourishment to thrive. And when that nourishment is blocked by spiritual impurities, your hair withers. It weakens. It falls. Hair holds memory and energy. Here's something else most people don't know. Hair holds memory. Scientific studies have shown that hair stores information. You can analyze someone's hair and determine what they've been exposed to, what they've consumed, what toxins have been in their body, even months after the exposure. But it's not just physical toxins. Hair also holds spiritual and emotional energy. Think about times in your life when you've gone through major transitions. Maybe you felt the need to cut your hair dramatically. I need a fresh start. I need to let go of the past. That's not just a cosmetic decision. That's a spiritual instinct. You were recognizing on some level that your hair was holding the energy of a season you needed to release. But what happens when you can't release that energy? When it's stuck in your hair, in your body, in your spirit, it becomes toxic. And your body's response is to try to get rid of it. One way it does that is by shedding the hair that's holding the contamination. So when you're losing hair, especially in large amounts, it's often your body trying to purge spiritual toxicity. It's trying to release what you've been holding onto. The problem is, if you don't address the source of the contamination, if you don't stop taking in the spiritual impurities, your body will keep trying to purge, and you'll keep losing hair. That's why treating it medically doesn't work, because you're not addressing the source. Hair as a crown of glory. Finally, let's talk about what hair represents symbolically. In many cultures throughout history, hair has been associated with royalty, strength, and divine favor. Kings and queens wore their hair in elaborate styles as a symbol of their authority. Warriors grew their hair long as a symbol of their strength and courage. Priests and spiritual leaders often had specific hair traditions because hair represented their connection to the divine. Your hair is your crown, not a physical crown made of gold and jewels, but a living crown that represents your identity as a child of God. When your hair is healthy, full, vibrant, it's a visible sign of your spiritual health. But when your hair is falling, thinning, dying, it's a visible sign that something in your spiritual life needs attention. God is using your crown to get your attention. He's saying, you're royalty, you're chosen, you're meant to walk in divine health and vitality. But something is interfering with that. Let me show you what it is so you can remove it. So now you understand. Hair isn't just hair. It's a spiritual antenna. It's a conductor of divine energy. It's a holder of memory. It's a symbol of your covenant with God. It's your crown. And when it's falling, it's not random. It's a warning. It's a signal. It's God speaking through your body. And now that you understand the spiritual significance, you're ready to hear what's actually causing it. All right, chosen one. Now we're getting to the part where I'm going to get very specific. I'm going to reveal the 3 major spiritual impurities that are likely causing your hair to fall. And I need you to be completely honest with yourself as I go through each one. Don't defend yourself. Don't justify. Don't make excuses. Just listen. And if it resonates, if something in your spirit is saying that's me, then receive it. Because the only way to fix this is to first acknowledge what's broken. So let's start with the first major impurity. Impurity number 1. You're consuming content that's contaminating your spirit. Chosen one, I need to ask you some very direct questions. And I want you to answer honestly, even if it's just yourself. What have you been watching lately? And I don't mean just this week. I mean over the past few months, the past year. What shows have you been binge watching? What movies have you been streaming? What YouTube videos have you been consuming for hours at a time? What have you been listening to? What music is on your playlist? What podcasts are you tuning into during your commute? What's playing in the background while you work, while you cook, while you fall asleep? What have you been reading and scrolling through? What books? What articles? What social media content? What news? What forums? What communities online are you part of? Because here's what most people don't realize. Everything you consume has a frequency, and that frequency either elevates your spirit or contaminates it. You might think it's just entertainment, it's just show, it's just music, it doesn't really affect me. But that's a lie the enemy wants you to believe. Because if he can convince you that what you consume doesn't matter, then he can freely contaminate your spirit through your eyes and ears without you even realizing it's happening. Let me break this down for you. The spiritual reality of consumption. Every image you see enters your mind. And your mind isn't just a biological organ processing information. Your mind is connected to your spirit. When you watch something, you're not just passively observing, you're absorbing. You're taking in the energy, the frequency, the spiritual essence of what you're viewing. If what you're watching is filled with violence, your spirit absorbs violence. If what you're watching is filled with sexual immorality, your spirit absorbs lust and perversion. If what you're watching glorifies darkness, occult practices, rebellion against God, your spirit absorbs that darkness. And your spirit was never designed to carry those frequencies. You were created to carry light, love, peace, joy, righteousness. So when you force your spirit to process content that operates in darkness, your spirit struggles. It's like trying to force your body to digest poison. Your body will reject it. It will try to purge it. And one of the ways it purges spiritual toxicity is through physical manifestation, including hair loss. Let me give you specific examples. Violent and dark content. How many hours have you spent watching shows or movies filled with graphic violence, murder mysteries, crime dramas, horror films, action movies where the body count is in the hundreds? You might think it's just fiction. It's not real. I can separate fantasy from reality, but your spirit can't. Your spirit doesn't process it as just a story. Your spirit experiences the frequency of violence, the energy of death, the darkness of murder and mayhem. And every time you consume it, you're inviting that frequency into your spiritual space. Let me tell you what happens in the spiritual realm when you watch dark content. Demonic entities are attracted to it. They're drawn to the frequency of darkness. And when you open the door by consuming it, you're essentially inviting them into your space. They don't need your permission in the traditional sense. They just need the door, the portal that you open by aligning your attention with their frequency. And once they're there, they attach, they linger, they influence, and they drain your life force. That's what demons do. They steal, kill, and destroy. They don't create anything. They can only take from you. And one of the things they take is your vitality, your energy, your spiritual strength. And where does that show up physically? In your hair, in your skin, in your overall health. Sexually immoral content. Now let's talk about sexual content. How much have you been consuming lately? Whether it's pornography, and if it is, we need to address that directly, or shows and movies filled with graphic sexual scenes, or music that glorifies promiscuity and lust. Sexual energy is one of the most powerful spiritual forces. God created it to be expressed within the covenant of marriage. Within that boundary, it's life-giving, unifying, sacred. But outside of that boundary, it becomes destructive. When you consume sexual content, even if you're not physically participating, you're creating soul ties in the spiritual realm. You're connecting your spirit to the spirits of the people you're watching, the actors, the performers. You're absorbing the frequency of lust, which is never satisfied. It always wants more. It's insatiable. And that frequency doesn't just stay in your mind. It enters your spirit, and it contaminates. Your body knows this isn't right. Your spirit knows this isn't aligned with God's design. So it tries to reject it. It tries to cleanse itself. And one manifestation of that cleansing is hair loss. Music that glorifies darkness. Now let's talk about music, because music is incredibly powerful spiritually, more powerful than most people realize. Music doesn't just enter your ears. It enters your soul. The rhythm, the frequency, the lyrics, they all carry spiritual energy. And when you listen to music that glorifies violence, lust, rebellion, drug use, materialism, pride, you're absorbing all of that. You might think, but I just like the beat. I don't even pay attention to the lyrics. Your subconscious is paying attention. Your spirit is paying attention. And every time you listen, you're reinforcing those frequencies in your spiritual space. I've seen people completely transform their lives just by changing their music. They stopped listening to music that glorified darkness and started listening to worship, to uplifting music, to sounds that carried frequencies of peace and love. And their entire energy shifted. Their countenance changed. Their health improved. Yes, even their hair. Social media contamination. And finally, let's talk about social media. How many hours a day are you scrolling? And what are you scrolling through? Negativity, outrage, division, comparison, envy, fear, anxiety. Every post you read, every image you see, every comment section you dive into, you're absorbing that energy. Social media is designed to be addictive, and it's also designed to keep you in low-frequency emotions. Fear keeps you scrolling, checking the news, the latest crisis. Envy keeps you scrolling, looking at other people's highlight reels. Outrage keeps you scrolling, arguing with strangers about things you can't control. And all of those emotions are toxic to your spirit. They create stress. They create anxiety. They create a sense of lack, of inadequacy, of constant comparison. And your body responds to that chronic stress by going into survival mode. And one of the first things your body sacrifices in survival mode? Hair growth. Because your body says, we don't have resources for cosmetic features right now. We're just trying to survive. So it redirects energy away from hair, skin, nails, all the things that aren't essential for immediate survival. And your hair starts falling. The solution of a media fast. So here's what you need to do. Chosen one. You need to go on a 7-day media fast. I know that sounds extreme. I know you're thinking, I can't do that. I need my shows to unwind. I need my music. I need to stay connected on social media. But that's the addiction talking. That's the contamination defending itself. If you're serious about stopping your hair loss, you have to be serious about stopping the contamination. Here's what the fast looks like. Days 1 to 7. Complete media cleanse. No TV shows or movies, especially nothing violent, sexual, or dark. No secular music that glorifies darkness. You can listen to worship, instrumental nature sounds. No social media scrolling, you can post if you need to, but no consuming, no news, it's mostly fear-based anyway. No YouTube binges, except spiritual content that edifies. Replace with worship music, fill your home with it. Scripture reading or audio Bible prayer and meditation nature sounds. Peaceful instrumental music, uplifting books or content that feeds your spirit silence. Yes, just silence. Let your spirit rest. I promise you, by day 3, you're going to feel different. The anxiety you didn't even realize you were carrying will start to lift. The mental fog will clear. You'll sleep better. You'll feel lighter. And your body, no longer fighting to process all that spiritual contamination, will start to heal, including your hair. Now let's move to the second major spiritual impurity that's causing your hair to fall. And this one's going to be harder for some of you to hear because it involves people, and people are complicated. But chosen one, I need you to stay with me because this might be the most important section of this entire message. Impurity number 2. Toxic relationships are draining your life force. Let me start with a question. Is there someone in your life who always leaves you feeling exhausted? Not physically tired, spiritually exhausted. Like after you spend time with them, whether it's in person, on the phone, or even just texting, you feel drained, empty, heavy. Like they took something from you. Like they fed off your energy and left you depleted. That's not just a personality clash. That's a spiritual vampire. And if you're in regular contact with someone like that, if they're a significant part of your life, whether it's a friend, a family member, a romantic partner, a coworker, they are literally draining your life force. And one of the physical manifestations of that spiritual drain is hair loss. Let me explain how this works. The spiritual reality of soul ties. In the spiritual realm, we are all connected by energy. When you form a relationship with someone, any relationship, you create an energetic connection. The Bible calls these soul ties. Some soul ties are healthy and God-ordained. The bond between a husband and wife, the bond between parent and child, the bond between genuine friends who sharpen each other. These connections are life-giving. They add to you. They strengthen you. They help you become more of who God created you to be. But then there are ungodly soul ties. These are connections formed with people who operate in darkness, drain, instead of give, criticize, instead of encourage, take, without reciprocating, keep you stuck in your past, speak death instead of life over you. And when you have an ungodly soul tie with someone, there's a spiritual cord connecting you to them. You can't see it with physical eyes, but it's real. And through that cord, energy flows. But it only flows one direction, from you to them. They pull from you. They feed off your light, your joy, your peace, your vitality. And you not fully understanding what's happening. Keep giving. Keep trying. Keep hoping they'll change. Keep believing this relationship can be healthy if you just try harder. But it can't, because they don't want health. They want a host. And the longer you stay connected to them, the more they drain from you. And your body, losing vitality, losing life force, starts to shut down non-essential functions, like hair growth. Let me give you specific examples of toxic soul ties. The romantic relationship, that's killing you. Some of you are in romantic relationships, or have been recently, that are absolutely destroying you. You know it's toxic. You know it's not God's best for you. You know you should leave, but you can't, or you won't. Maybe it's because you're afraid of being alone. Maybe it's because you've invested so much time you feel like you can't walk away. Maybe it's because they've manipulated you into believing you need them. But here's the truth. That relationship is killing you. Literally, if your partner constantly criticizes you, makes you feel small, or inadequate, controls you, or manipulates you, cheats, or is emotionally unfaithful, operates in addictions, or darkness, refuses to grow, or change, drains your joy and peace, then they are a spiritual vampire, and you are the host they're feeding on. God doesn't just want to stop the hair loss. He wants to give you a new mantle. When your hair grows back after this purification, it won't be the same. It will be stronger, thicker, and shinier. A physical testimony of your spiritual victory. You are moving from the Samson in the mill phase to the Samson pulling down the pillars phase. The chosen one's vow. This is the moment of commitment. You have cleaned your soul, you have purged your home, and you have realigned your lifestyle. Now you must speak your reality into existence. The light of God is not a metaphor. It is a literal bioelectric frequency that stimulates life. If you can feel the tingle in your scalp right now, if you can feel the heaviness lifting off your shoulders, then the purification has already begun. Do not let the enemy steal this moment of faith. The closing instruction: close your eyes. Visualize the light of God pouring into the crown of your head, saturating every follicle with divine life. Now, go to the comments and declare your healing. Type, "My hair is 100% healthy and are growing naturally with the light of God." Say it, believe it, and watch the miracle manifest.